Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. I hope you're doing well. Well, the migrants are doing the same kind of complaining that our men and women have done forever in this country, the exploitation behind bars. But see, we have lived through it longer than any other group, from going from chattel slavery to convict leasing and mass incarceration. They keep our people in jail even when we're innocent. And so, yes, there is forced labor when you are detained in America. America is and always will be a slave nation. If they get a chance to exploit you for labor, they ain't going to pass it up. All right. They have been doing this to our men and women forever, especially our men. They get incarcerated when they didn't want to let go of slavery. They were just arresting them for stupid mess. It was illegal to be unemployed. It was illegal for you to be walking around vagrancy and loitering and all these BS laws exclusively for our men just to get them locked up again and doing free labor. And you know why? Because they couldn't live without slavery, just like they can't live without it now. That's why you got all these private prisons. And what are they doing in these prisons? Corporate work, working for corporations or working on farms for food companies, working for free in some instances, depending on where our men are and women are incarcerated, and or working for a dollar or a few dollars per day. America never seen a melanated person they did not want to exploit. See, when you come to a country, this is why you need to learn the history of the country. You need to know what the caste system is, because America got a deep caste system. You need to know how they will make stuff up to get people incarcerated. That's why the exoneration rate, which they don't like to talk about. See, they love talking about our people going to jail. They never like talking about the high exoneration rate that is among our people, too. They love excluding that. So, what's happening to you immigrants in these ICE detention center? Just know one thing: the same rich people that own the private prisons are the same rich people that own the ICE detention centers. So if they got you out here doing labor, yeah, that's because they already made contracts with corporations to get certain work done. So yeah, y'all getting paid $1 a day. And I'm hearing the same thing from our brothers and sisters behind bars. The conditions are bad. They don't care. They don't care. These folks hear that kind of stuff. They don't care. They don't care what the conditions are for a brown man in an ICE detention center. They don't care. They don't care. See, they'll let that leak out in the news, just like every now and then they'll let it leak out in the news where our brothers and sisters are incarcerated. But I can promise you, they are not going to do anything about it. You might hear about it a little bit here and there in the news, but at the end of the day, they're not going to do nothing because they're making millions and millions of dollars off of your labor, paying you $1 a day. That's what they're giving these immigrants, $1 a day to do hard labor every day. And they don't care. It's a lot of money to be made off of you while you're in those ICE detention centers, just like it's a lot of money to be made off of our brothers and sisters behind bars. These same people that enslaved us are the same owners of these facilities. See, if you would have learned that, you wouldn't be shocked over the exploitation that they're doing to you. But you live, you learn. See, this is why each and every one of you immigrant groups should never have came in here on the side of white supremacy. And just remember one thing, you're in those ICE detention centers because of white supremacy. You are being exploited for your labor and paid $1 a day because of white supremacy. And that was the side you came in here on. You came out against us. And at the end of the day, the very people you sided with are now exploiting you and making you virtually a slave. $1 a day, you're a slave. You're a slave. Okay? And didn't y'all come in here looking down at your nose? Because I don't know what it is with you immigrants. Y'all all come into America like we are still in chattel slavery. Because y'all talk to us and treat us like we are still in chattel slavery. No, we're not. But y'all all address us like this. All of you do. Oh, you come from slavery. Yes, we come from slavery. That's how we know we're chosen people. Thank you very much. Yes, we do. But y'all come in here treating us like we still on somebody's plantation, and you can just walk up and talk to us any way you feel like it. But now look at who's the slave now up in these ICE detention centers. See, this is why you don't speak ill of other people. Now look at what's happening to y'all in these ICE detention centers. Look at what's happening to you. The very slaves you laughed at, you're now a slave up in these ICE detention centers. Ain't so funny no more, is it? Oh, see, when that man is exploiting you every day for your labor and throwing $1 a day, and you're working from the crack of dawn until the end of day, you are working for $1. And guess what they got to pay if they want to talk to their families, y'all? $5 per phone call. So you're virtually working all week long just to make a phone call to talk to your family. $5. But you know what, y'all? We tried to tell everybody what this place was. We tried to tell y'all how deplorable jails were. You said, well, you shouldn't be in jail. Well, you're right. Many of them shouldn't have been in jail because y'all be lying on folks. You know who I'm talking about. Y'all be lying on folks, and many people are behind bars that absolutely shouldn't be there because they didn't commit a crime. And see, that's the thing about America. America will jail your ass, and you don't have to do nothing wrong in America to get caught up in their system. That's another thing you immigrants don't know. See, you don't have to do nothing wrong to get caught up in the prison system in America. You don't have to do anything wrong. Look, they got people in these ICE detention centers working for $1 a day, and they've been here in the US for 20 years. And that's what they're in these detention centers doing. And see, and they gonna now that you know the same people that own the private prisons own the ICE detention centers. Oh, they gonna keep a flow of people coming in there to keep that dollar a day labor going, that slave labor going. They gonna keep a big old influx of you brown people coming up in there, and you Africans, because there's Africans in there too. So you Africans and you brown folks and you Caribbeans, they gonna keep an influx of you going into them ICE detention centers because they need that slave work done. That's all I'm telling you. That's why it don't pay to look down your nose at others, ridicule a class of people, and act like it was never going to happen to you. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the doing of the Most High. He heard all that mess y'all were singing about us, calling us slaves and calling us lazy. Now he put you in a slave situation. And all I got to say is get used to it, because you got to do 1,000 years more. Get used to it. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. So, y'all, you're going to listen to these videos, but they're going to say absolutely nothing that our people have not already gone through. Okay. So, in a sense, y'all, the slavery that is spoken about in the Bible that the Gentiles will have to do, it looked like it has officially begun. That's all I'm saying. It has officially begun. All right. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you. Thank you.
Went to ICE detention centers. Just want to share with you some of the pictures and videos that they sent. So you can see this looks a lot like a prison or jail, but they actually call them detention centers or processing centers to get around a lot of the actual legality of having a jail or prison. They protested outside of the detention centers chanting, "We see you, immigrants are welcome here." People inside the facility were waving and holding signs. They were able to speak to some of the women that were being held in this detention facility or had been released, and they shared that the conditions were extremely inhumane. People needed medical care, and there was a lack of medical care. People have even lost toes being in there, and that it was extremely hot. So there was either no AC or insufficient AC. And we're talking Louisiana in the peak of summer. This information came from the Service Employees International Union, a labor union with over 2 million people. They did a justice journey to Louisiana last week, so feel free to look it up and find out more information.
We have to talk about the human rights abuses that are going on in our detention centers for migrants and immigrants, and it's completely unacceptable. And I'm outraged. It's outrageous. So I'd like to read an article here on my iPad about what's going on in U.S. detention centers. Just a little bit of it. The article is from Fox 28 in Florida. Migrants face degrading treatment at U.S. detention centers. Okay, so people in immigration detention are being treated as less than human. Belkis Willie, Associate Crisis and Conflict Director for the Human Rights Watch Group, said in a statement. In one alleged instance, shackled detainees being prepared for a transfer had to kneel and eat food from styrofoam plates with their hands behind their backs. They said they're being treated like animals. I mean, can you imagine? They are putting food on plates in front of them. Hands are shackled behind their backs, and they have to kneel and eat the food from the plate with just their mouths. This is disgusting and completely unacceptable. We keep reading. A quote: "We had to put the plates on chairs and then bend down and eat with our mouths like dogs," one man was quoted saying. The report, which focuses on 3 facilities in Florida, cites migrants sleeping on concrete floors, using their shoes as pillows. One man said he was denied access to soap or water to wash his hands for 20 consecutive days. Another complained that he was not allowed his medications, including insulin and his asthma inhaler. Some women reported being held in a cell with exposed toilets that were visible to men in nearby rooms. Can you imagine? This is unacceptable. Human Rights Watch, a New York-based nonprofit, documented the experiences of 17 immigrants for the report. Advocacy groups, Americans for Immigrant Justice and Sanctuary of the South, also contributed to the research. Florida is notably home to a new detention center dubbed Alligator Alcatraz, or Auschwitz, which Trump visited in July, boasting about the harsh conditions and joking that the reptilian predators will serve as guards. I mean, the cruelty is the point. I will say that it's noted that 72% of the individuals held as of mid-June have no criminal history. So even criminals should not be treated this way. This is not okay, and something has to be done. I just thought you should know. We need to do something about this.
Now, did they say anything that didn't happen to us? Okay, did they say one thing that didn't happen to us? We were complaining about the conditions of the prisons. We have been complaining about how deplorable the treatment is and how these guards will beat up on inmates and will even unalive them up in there. We've been talking about that kind of stuff forever. Now look at what's happening to them. They're complaining about the same thing. The guards are beating up on them. The guards are treating them bad. The same thing, nothing different. Nothing different. But at the end of the day, it sucks to be exploited. See, if you would have just came over here and been a lot more humble, I could see people trying to help you out. Now, nobody is going to help y'all up in these ICE detention centers. I don't care what kind of complaining y'all do. Nobody is coming to help you. Nobody's coming to your rescue. Just like our men and women been behind these deplorable prisons up in this country, nobody came to our rescue. Nobody. And nobody's coming for yours. What's that scripture? No man will buy you. You're stuck in this situation. I hope y'all know this. You are stuck. Donald Trump don't want you here. And technically, y'all don't, once you get behind those bars, you don't have no rights. You have no rights. You are at a slave status now. So as far as y'all screaming and talking about how bad and the human rights that stuff has been said about our people being behind bars forever. And they have never done one single thing about it. And I promise you, they're not going to do nothing about this situation either. I'm just saying. All right, y'all, let's go on.
Being at the detention center, being able to see the folks that were just waving at us from the windows, it's hard for you to be able to witness that and not think. They think everybody's forgotten them, and they have not been forgotten. And I'm so grateful to the labor movement. I'm so grateful to belong to a union that says that we're going to fight back. We see you! We see you! We see you! Members from all over the country, they took the justice journey. They got on the bus and they came here to show what is happening in these big buildings. So many families have been torn apart from these ICE raids. This is one of the facilities around the country where people have been detained and then from here being deported.
When we get off this bus, we're going to be together. And let's make sure we raise our voice and let them know that we ready, we coming. Are we ready? Yes! Well, let me hear it. We ready.
We all stand here today at the gates of this ICE prison, where just weeks ago, PYM members from all over the state, as well as allies, rallied for Mahmoud Khalil. Today, we return with his justice journey and all of our allies to say our liberation is bound together.
And what we are demanding to stop this ICE raids, and that we want to make sure that people who have been unjustly detained being released, and we're saying enough. We're not going to let them to ignore us. So we are going to continue to shine a light to what is happening in this country.
We have people from different countries in the United States, So, and it concerns to me, because the people on the top, they just want money. And they always been making money with human bodies. It's us. They look at us as an instrument. They don't look at us as humans. As soon as they protect it on the top, they don't care about anybody, At Los Angeles, people, they already start to fighting back against ICE. And I hope, more people are going to start to wake up. And more people want to start to join us to fight back.
For me, the justice journey means hope. We took on this fight because it's the right thing to do. We took on this fight because it affects our members. It affects our communities. So, right, we are the working class.
Every day there's some action going on somewhere. People are hitting the streets. And I think the message is being heard.
As long as we're around, as long as I'm here, I'm going to stand up for you. I'm going to stand there. We're going to fight. We're going to fight together. Change is going to come.
A big part of why these raids are happening is very sinister. I go into these detention centers. There's all sorts of people in there, right? There's farm workers, there's day laborers, there's people who've been here for 20 years who have, multiple U.S. citizen kids. The way that these people in these detention centers keep in touch with their kids is they make phone calls. And these phone calls, they get charged $5 per phone call. And the way they make money in these detention centers is they work. And for a full day of work, they get paid $1. And so the people in there, right, the fathers who want to talk to their kids, they work a full week to make one phone call with their kids.
I mean, that's slavery. I don't know if you're allowed to say that.
It absolutely is.
I'm a regular person. I can say whatever I want. That's slavery.
All of these detention centers are run by private for-profit prison companies. And they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars for every single person who's in there. That's why they're not just going after criminals or people with criminal convictions. They're just finding anybody with brown skin.
Right.
Because they're looking for bodies to put into these prisons so they can keep on stealing from taxpayers.
That's crazy.
These for-profit prison companies donate almost an equal amount between Republicans and Democrats.
Right, yeah.
And that explains so much about why Trump is back. Because you have on the Republican side a party that is attacking immigrants and saying immigrants are the cause of all of the problems in this country. And Democrats are trying to fight back and say, hey, actually, immigrants are not so bad. But they're fighting with one arm saying immigrants are not so bad. And their other arm is tied behind their back by all these for-profit prison companies that they're taking checks from. I think that's something that needs to change about not just California, but politics in general.
Yeah.
Because there's money in politics that causes our politicians to serve the interests of these corporations and these special interests rather than regular people. And that's why our campaign is only taking donations from regular people. I think that's the right way to do politics because it allows us to speak with honesty and with authenticity. And what California needs to do is to shut these for-profit detention centers down.
Why does ICE target so many day laborers and farm workers? Here's what we know. Although it may be illegal to employ undocumented immigrants, the government is the one profiting most off of their labor. The detention centers used by ICE offer work programs which pay $1 a day for 8 hours of labor. This work includes operations necessary to keep the detention centers running, such as cooking, cleaning, and repairs. These centers are owned and operated by for-profit private companies such as Geo Group and Core Civic, who make billions of dollars off of their facilities and donate that money back to Republicans through PACs. Last year, both the founder and the CEO of Geo Group made $11,600 contributions to Trump's Save America Joint Fundraising Committee, and the subsidiary of the company contributed $1 million to Make America Great Again, Inc. Meanwhile, detainees are often charged high markups if they try to use their wages. For instance, a can of tuna from a commissary goes for $3.25 according to detainees, while a 4-ounce tube of toothpaste costs $11. A day of work is enough for a 1-minute phone call, and if loved ones want to fund a detainee's commissary account, they may be charged a 10% fee. In one lawsuit, Geo is alleged to have engaged in labor trafficking by threatening detainees with solitary confinement if they do not participate in the work program. Although the company was denied governmental immunity for its operations, SCOTUS is set to review whether or not Geo can appeal the ruling. This story is ongoing. Follow us to stay informed.
At some ICE detention centers, people cook, clean, and scrub floors for $1 a day. They call it the voluntary work program. But there's nothing voluntary about trying to survive. At LaSalle's Richwood facility in Louisiana, women earn $1 serving food and scrubbing toilets. Then they spend it inside the jail, at the commissary, where bread costs $3 and shampoo costs $5. So they work every day, not to earn, but just to exist. Meanwhile, LaSalle makes over $130 million a year from ICE contracts in that same state. They profit from the government, the labor, and again from the spending. That's not work. That's exploitation in plain sight, and we're the ones funding it.
Listen up. If your friends, your family, or anyone you know is currently detained by ICE, or if you've just wondered what these detention centers are like, listen carefully. Conditions inside the detention centers are inhumane. A recent client of mine spent about 2 weeks in ICE detention center. While over there, he told me that 3 people committed suicide because of the conditions of the detention center. Not only that, a detainee was having a heart attack at this ICE detention center, and there were no paramedics, there was no nurse, there was no medics that could help this individual. This individual ended up dying because of the heart attack. As for food, everyone gets 1 slice of bread and a bottle of water. That's the only meal they get. Once they eat the slice of bread, the detainees have noticed that they become very sleepy and exhausted, and they sleep for the rest of the day. Now, these are not old stories. These are current conditions. And you know what's funny? These people have not committed any crimes. They're not being detained for a criminal offense. They are in a detention center for a civil immigration offense. Let that sink in.
Immigrants at a Florida ICE detention center have described the facility as a living hell where immigrants were beat and they experienced racial slurs being told to them by guards, as well as medical neglect, resulting in 16 civil rights groups filing a federal complaint with multiple agencies. One immigrant at the ICE detention center named Guillermo de Leon Serabi, who is a 22-year-old immigrant from El Salvador, said he lost part of his hearing because of the beatings he received at the hands of the guards at the facility known as the Baker County Detention Center. He told Noticias Telemundo Investiga, "To this day, I always have a sharp pain in my head." His allegations are a part of a federal complaint that was filed by 16 civil rights organizations against the practices at the detention center, which is located in McClaney, Florida. The complaint was sent to several Department of Homeland Security agencies and the Miami ICE field office. The group cited inhumane conditions including excessive use of force and physical assault, verbal abuse, racialized harassment, and medical neglect. The complaint is calling for ICE to terminate the contract with Baker County, which runs the facility, and is asking for an investigation and the release of the detainees, especially those who have been held there for over 120 days, and a halt to any scheduled deportations. According to his testimony from De Leon Serabi, the alleged incident took place after he refused a COVID-19 test required for his deportation, according to the complaint. De Leon also said that in 2021 of December, when a guard unloaded all of his anger with his right hand, caused his ear to bleed and impacted his hearing. One of the immigrant rights groups known as Freedom for Immigrants said that De Leon Serabi was put in solitary confinement and had not been able to contact his family or contact his lawyer. And this same ICE facility was investigated by the federal government themselves on the national detention standards, and they received an unacceptable rating. And ICE, trying to do damage control, put out a statement and chose not to address the allegations, just saying that ICE is committed to ensuring the welfare of all of those in the agency's custody, including providing access to necessary and appropriate medical care. One Colombian immigrant named Eric Martinez, who was held at the facility, said, "I felt like losing my life." He told Telemundo from Colombia, because he ended up getting deported, that he suffered from physical and verbal abuse at the Baker County Detention Center. And what he described was horrific. According to the complaint, Mr. Martinez felt like he was going to pass out and tried to yell that he could not breathe after an officer allegedly put his knee on his stomach. The complaint also said, while Mr. Martinez was restrained, Sergeant Griffiths punched him in the face with a closed fist, breaking his nose. Attorneys are trying to get the video footage of the alleged assault, and Martinez said his time there was a living hell. Despite everything, he hopes to return to the U.S. where he has a family alive that he left behind. He never got justice, said one attorney. And the only acceptable thing is for this facility to be shut down.
So if you didn't know, there's a new letter from the ACLU and allied human rights groups that are urging ICE to end immigration detention at Camp East Montana, which is a massive detention site on the Fort Bliss Army Base in El Paso, Texas. The facility currently holds about 2,700 people, making it the largest immigration detention center in the United States. And this letter is based on months of interviews with more than 45 detained people and supported by 16 sworn declarations detailing serious abuse and harmful treatment. It says detained people have described beatings, excessive use of force, and even abusive sexual contact by officers. One teenager said that he was beaten so badly he lost consciousness, taken to a hospital, and now has lasting injuries. There are also reports that officers coerce detainees, including those with no ties to
So, ladies and gentlemen, these folks are like, oh, well, they're being detained for no reason. Oh, doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound familiar? Again, they're not going through nothing that we haven't gone through, you know? And here's the sad part. Since y'all came and you could not understand our plight, now the Most High is making you live it. He's making you live it. He's making you live through all the things you spoke against us and looking down your noses. Now he is making you live it. He's making you live it. So, look, being detained, especially in this country, is horrendous. And America will do anything to keep their little slavery going. And I heard all those people they detained off of farms. They got them in these ICE detention centers working farms in Louisiana. They got them growing crops and doing stuff like, the same thing they were doing on these farms and getting paid. Well, they're doing it for $1 a day now at these ICE detention centers. They're sending them out on these different plantations to work for $1 a day. And I said, well, didn't they do that to our men, convict leasing? Wherever they needed them, they had to send them off and they worked for free. So, look, y'all can talk about, oh, we got to do something to human rights. And America don't care about your human rights. Let me just ask y'all, the ones that are in these ICE detention centers, you Latinos and you Africans and Caribbeans and all of you that are in there, do y'all still feel white? Y'all still feel white? I just want to know, because y'all came over here acting like y'all were y'all were clicked in with white. Do you still feel that way now? Unbelievable. And when did it matter whether you did something wrong or not? You don't have to commit a crime to go to jail in America. It's always been this way. Always. So, and you Somalians, I don't know. They may be throwing some of y'all up in these detention centers too. I'm just saying, they're rounding y'all up. They're rounding a lot of, because they said they are sending them flights out every day. And I know the Kenyans are upset because some of the Somalians have been flown over to Kenya. And the Kenyans are saying they don't want them there. They don't want them flown in to Kenya because they don't get along with these Somalians either. So it is what it is, but y'all gonna end up in these ICE detention centers for how long they want to keep you in there. And that's why they're gonna keep using ICE on these streets, because they're gonna have to keep these ICE detention centers full enough to get the slave work done. And they're going to do the same thing they do with these prisons. That's why mass incarceration still exists, because, see, they need to keep the flow of corporate work done. And now you can see that corporate work is now part of the ICE detention centers. These rich people are the most inhumane people there is on the face of the earth. They don't care about your humanity. They don't care. All of your pleas of how inhumane it is, they're going to just ignore it. You don't know. The rich class and the old money people, they don't have a conscience. So you are pleading to somebody that has no conscience. All they see is dollar signs and all the money they're going to make off of your dollar a day labor. Okay, that's all they see. All that other stuff, y'all protesting and talking about everything is inhuman. They're not even listening to that stuff. They never listened to it when it was us. So I'm still wondering if you brown people, now y'all still feeling white. I'm just wondering, are you? So y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank Move Peacefully for becoming a new channel member. Thank you for your support for my channel. And y'all, I will see you on the next live, which should be at 6:45. I will see you then. Shalom, family.